Hey YouTube, my name is Steph, and I want to give you a couple quick tips on EVA foam and how to harden it, how to make it look really good, whether you're doing cosplay, costumes for Halloween, anything like that. This will work for EVA foam, and I did a couple tests with Styrospray 1000, as well as just regular white glue and Rondo Bondo, all sorts of stuff. And I want to mainly talk about two and tell you on like tips and tricks on what I would recommend. I know that some people may think it's expensive or whatnot, but before you get into a project, I did a couple tests for you just to kind of get you in the right direction, so to speak. So the two main ones that I want to be talking about is Styrospray 1000, and I saw a guy do just regular white glue, and I'll show you those results in just a moment. But basically the first one is, okay, so Rondo Bondo and that sort of thing, I did try it. It left major bubbles at the bottom of my EVA foam. It's just a little bit harder to work with, but I'm not going to touch on that today. It's a little bit more expensive and it's a little bit messier, and I don't like it as much. So the first one is Styrospray 1000. So anytime that you're prepping EVA foam, a couple things, two biggest recommendations of mine is, one, use an extremely sharp knife, brand new knife, to cut any kind of EVA foam. If you don't, you're going to get that ripped kind of side look, and you know automatically that it's EVA foam. But there's some of them here which I'll show you pictures of that I had a nice clean knife, and I had fantastic results. That's one. Number two is make sure that you're always heating up the EVA foam. I mean, you need to when you want to bend it, when you want to create a bend in it, you need to heat it up. But even if you're not, even if it's a flat surface, you want to make sure to heat it up because it closes up the cells and it makes it look really nice and smooth. And I guess my third recommendation is when you're doing corners, it has that little spice to it. When you warm it up, you press it up against the corner, you kind of round it off, or push it up against a flat surface of some kind, and from there it'll be like it'll just make a nice smoother finish. So Styrospray 1000, let's dive into it. I have two samples here. The nice thing about Styrospray 1000 is it's extremely easy to use, but so is white glue. Very easy to use, and it actually does do quite a bit of it does harden it quite a bit. And so this is just a one coat test. I thought the results were actually fantastic. It's nice, firm, no matter what you want to use it for. Like, this is the piece that I'm looking at doing eventually. It's a test piece for like a Obi-Wan type costume. But either way, it holds its shape, and from there, the results are fantastic. They're really, really good. After you put the Styrospray 1000 on, I would suggest putting primer coat and then paint and then your high gloss. Make sure you put your primer on, because a couple times I did it just to see what would happen, and I got hairline cracks in my paint because there was no primer. So it's worth getting that extra primer. But the only downfall with Styrospray 1000 was I'm from Canada, so it's really hard to get my hands on this stuff, especially being from Canada, because it's all the way from Texas and they only make it in Texas. But it is fantastic stuff if you can get your hands on it. But it's for any kind of like hobbyist, that sort of thing. It's more on the expensive side. But if you want to go all out and get it, cool. The more coats you put on it, the harder it gets. And so I would recommend that if you want to go more of the expensive route. But my number one, my favorite, is actually just regular glue. Here I got fantastic results. The only difference, I actually got better results with the glue as a finish, more than the Styrospray. And the thing is that I got better results. The only thing that is kind of the downfall, or the difference between the two, is that the Styrospray 1000 is a little bit firmer, and you could probably get a lot more rock solid, but this was actually like really firm. And so and it's cheap. Like, you can get this any hardware store, just those big giant buckets of white paint or white glue, for cheap, and these results excuse me, were fantastic. So My number one recommendation, because it's way cheaper and the results are slightly different slash actually sort of better in one way, in the way of cleanliness, I would totally go with just white glue. So if you're thinking about Styrospray, you can go that route. It's really easy to work with both. No difference there. But your ultimate result will be on how you prep it, whether you heat it up to close up the cells, whether you use a really sharp knife or whatnot to prep it. So I'll show you some close-up images of these pieces and a little bit of what I'm working on. I was working on an Obi-Wan costume that I was thinking of doing. I might do it, I might not, but I prepped it anyway. And so starting with, I got a cheap model online, then kind of changed it up in a modeling software, and then from there I saved that as an OBJ, and then I brought it into Pepakura. From there I turned it into, I just kept the faces of the Pepakura files, and I took all the other little tags and took them out, and from there you just lay it right onto your EVA foam, and from there you get like a sample piece like this, and which is just kind of an idea. It's a long process, but if you're wanting to design it or wanted to get it accurate, then you'll do the work for it. So that's just a quick look at what I did there. And if you'd like to learn more about this type of stuff, I did one costume just before I go. I did one costume that's an Aragorn costume, and I went through a lot of effort just because I wanted to be as close as I can to it. I actually learned how to work with leather, like full-blown leather, and so these are two leather pieces. I did the full design on the front. I designed everything, and the leather pieces as well for both gauntlets, for both of them. And it was a lot of work, but I bought my own leather, stain, swivel knife. I did everything myself. And if you want to learn a little bit more about like the full Aragorn costume, that's cool. I can teach on that on another video, but I want to give you a couple just quick tips on what to do with EVA foam, which direction to go, so that I can do the research for you so that you don't have to. Anyway, we'll see you next time.